Ciao Interisti, welcome to another edition of the Pazza Podcast. This is a special season opener edition, fresh off a 4-1 home win versus Monza. I'm joined this week once again by Mr. Dave Kerber. Dave, say hello to the beautiful people.
Hello, beautiful people. Happy to be here and kicking off a great season with a really fun match that I can't wait to talk about with you.
Great to have you back, man. A lot to dig into today. Like I said, fresh off a great 4-1 home win versus Monza. Gonna start by launching right into the starting lineup. We had Josep Martinez stepping in the goalkeeper position, his first game one crack at the position. Back line was filled out by Jan Bisek, Manuel Akanji in the middle, and Alessandro Bastoni on the left. The midfield wing backs, Federico DiMarco, of course, on the left, Andy Doof making his season opener debut at the right wing back position on the right, filled out in the middle by Nicolo Barella, Hakan Çalhanoğlu, Piotr Zielinski, and leading the line, Pio Esposito and Lautaro Martinez. Dave, take me through your thoughts on that lineup.
It was pretty much what I expected. I mean, if you look at it, it's what we rolled out most of the last season, except take out Denzel because obviously he doesn't play here anymore, and then Turam, I don't think was fully fit. So it's pretty much what I expected. The only hesitation I had looking at it, and we talked about this a lot in preseason, was Akanji at the center back, and we'll get into that in a little bit. So, otherwise, I thought it was basically a pretty safe lineup. Go with what you got. A lot of the newer guys are not ready to play yet. Like you said, when we were preparing for this, Spence and Jones weren't even dressed for the match yet, so obviously we're not going to see them, and it would be crazy to see them start game one when they like literally just signed both of them. So it's pretty much what I expected to see from Kivu.
Definitely agreed with all of that. You mentioned the word safe, and I definitely felt the same way. I know Marcus Thuram, fresh off a World Cup duty where he was hurt during one of the practice sessions, not quite ready to play. I know Lautaro rushed back as our captain. Gotta love his work ethic, but looking at his game performance, you could tell maybe there's still some work that needs to be done there. But all in all, I'd say I would agree with what you said. Generally, a safe lineup. Starting Andy Doof on the right being probably the main risk that we were doing. But considering the preseason he had, the game that he had, I think it paid off handsomely. So
Yeah,
we'll get right into the actual game analysis. Fortunately for us, the scoring started early. We were trying to, in the group chat before the game, we were trying to figure out where the first goal would come from. And I think, not knowing whether Curtis Jones was dressed or not, one of us had said, maybe if he can contribute something, I replied, or a classic Hakan screamer. And not 60 seconds later, in the 6th minute, Hakan comes through after a moment of beautiful hold-up play by Pio Esposito and Andy Doof working the wing. Ball comes back to Hakan, and he sends a rocket into the net to kick off the Serie A season. Take me through your reaction to that goal, Dave.
I mean, like that was full profit mode. I feel like you sent that in the group chat literally as it was happening in real life because it happened on the TV, like literally within 60 seconds of that, which means you said it as it was actually happening, which is insane timing. Um, but like you said, a lot of credit there goes to Pio for being an unbelievable beast. Like literally got tackled to the ground while he passes it off to Diouf, who does what he does, attacks his man, gets in a really good position, and his vision there, like if you watch the replay, you can actually see him look back. He spotted Hakan. He wasn't just passing that into open space. He saw Hakan coming and late and teed it up for him, and he hit, I believe when I looked at it, it was something like 123 kilometers an hour rocket. Yeah, he smoked that. Like you can't hit it that much harder, and pretty much unsavable at that pace, and with it going right into the top of the net. So I don't feel like there's much we could have improved on there. Pio really has been impressive with that hold up play. It looks like he hit the gym hard this summer. I know some people are like, well, hopefully he did it say like he's 20. This is the age where you start to bulk up. It's hard to do that when you're a teenager. Your body's just not going to let you do it at that age. And that's the reality. That's when you would have to cheat to bulk up. So I think he's only going to continue to get bigger and fill into his frame now that he's fully grown. So that was really exciting to see. I'm not shocked to see Diouf attack his man again. That's what he does. But he had a really good move there to free up a lot of space for him to make that pass, and then Hakan just is Hakan. Like that's what he does. It was an awesome start.
Absolutely. Great team goal. The hold up play, we know Pio Esposito has always, that's been one of his strengths. No pun intended. We know he's always been getting better at that. And Andy Doof, I know we started him at that right wing back position last season. We saw some early flashes in the Coppa Italia, a couple games here or there,
Yep.
but we didn't know what a full season project with him at that position would look like. I know there was a promising preseason where we saw a lot of good things, but the question was how well can he
Mhm.
defend? And while I still think the jury, after one game, we can only say so much. The jury's still out on how well he can defend. But as far as coming forward, Andy Doof put in a man of the match performance. He really did. He,
Mhm.
he and Pio
Yeah.
Esposito were the two headliners for me yesterday. And
Yep.
for Andy Doof to come to us as a box to box midfielder and come away from this game with 2 assists, we'll get to the second one shortly. But I think that indicates that he is a really bright future here. And with, like we said, Jed Spence coming in this market as well, we haven't even seen him on the field yet. I think
Yep.
a position that we had a lot of insecurity about all summer all of a sudden looks very secure. What do you think?
I completely agree with that. I mean, one of the things that actually impressed me the most about Diouf's game was actually his defense. He was not the weak link in defense. He didn't get beat once. I didn't see it. Like he tracked back faster or as fast as Denzel Dumfries always did. With that body type and his pace, he has no trouble getting back. It looks like he's really adjusting to that role and the positioning already. I honestly thought his defense was better than Luis Enrique's was all of last season already in one game. I didn't see him get beat a single time on that side, frankly.
I agree. I think he was competent on defense. We do have to remember, of course, that it's Monza, a recently
Yeah.
promoted side, that we
Yep.
have to kind of take everything with a bit
That's
of a
the
grain of
caveat.
salt here. But that said, for what we could ask for him against that competition, I do feel like it was a very good game. As far as defense holding up their end of the bargain, unfortunately, there was a hiccup before the end of the half. 29th minute, Varela works Akanji over the middle. Josep Martinez makes a
Yeah.
dive at the ball, does the best, but can't quite get the full extension on it, and Monza pulled themselves level. Um, Dave, take me through your reaction to that. I know that in the moment our group chat was a bit disappointed with what we felt was a bit of a lack of hunger from our side. We felt that
hmm
after the Hakan goal, they maybe looked a little too complacent, didn't quite know what to do. Um, Personally, I agreed with that. I'd love to hear what you thought.
Absolutely. It was more of the same of last year, the flat first half where we get up a goal and we just kind of fall asleep. We go through the motions like nobody was really running hard to get to a ball. There were several times where Monza was pressing. Like I remember a situation I talked about in the chat where Barella got pressed by three different Monza guys. Not a single one of his teammates came to help him out or give him a place to pass. They all just kind of stood there. And that really is kind of what I saw most of that half is just Monza looked like they wanted it more. It was like, okay, we're up. We expect to win. We're just going to kind of go through the motions. And that's really what it looked like. I had some concerns about Akanji coming in. I said that was my main concern, him at center back. I've been saying this all preseason as part of why I was really interested in signing Romero is because I think Akanji is a premier right center back. I do not think he is at center back. He did well last year, but he is not an elite center back, and there's many reasons for that, but a lot of that is his positioning as well as his reading of the game. He's just not like I can go through why I thought Bovio was better in the preseason. I get that it's preseason, but if you watch a lot of his highlights and his proactivity in getting to the ball and cutting off counters before they happen, you don't see Akanji do that because he played right back and all over the place at Man City. He's so used to getting up the field that that's just not his natural game. That's not what he's good at reading. And we paid for it. The other thing is he also just got back like with Turo, so I was concerned about him having the legs and the strength and stamina for this, and that also showed. He got torched on that goal. If you're the center back, you cannot let your man get past you with strength that quickly. I don't blame Joseph on that goal. That thing was hammered into the corner. If that was summer last year, I don't even think he dives. He just stays flat footed and watches it go into the corner. That's
I
how
agree.
good of a shot that was. So that one is all on Akanji for me. Not that he got any help from his midfield in that pass leading up to that. The midfield also was just sleepwalking on defense, especially on the counter. They provided really no help in that first half. And that whole first half was really frustrating after that first goal for everyone, every Inter fan. I mean, I didn't see really any chances. We didn't do much, very low energy, and I said right before half like Kiva is going to rip them a new one, and I hope they come out the second half with a different energy. And we'll get to that in a second because I think we all know that they did.
Mhm. I agree with everything you said. I know we all talked about it being a pretty low energy first half for the most part. Obviously, Hakan's goal was a great opening tone setter, but it wasn't something that we could really follow up on as far as some of your other
Yep.
points about Akanji and the center back role. Of course, he filled in capably at that position last year. I know we had a bit of a our market wasn't what we expected it to be. We were stuck with the center backs we had, and with the system that Kivu wants to play. Unfortunately, De Vrij and Acerbi aren't the pacey center backs we need. That kind of meant
Yep.
process of elimination. Akanji's that guy. So for better or worse, that's who we had there, and he had his moments there where he was great. He had his moments there where he didn't exactly deliver. I know. I believe it was the first derby last year against Milan on the only goal of that game where he got burned as well. So
Yep.
while
It's
it's not
mainly
his
on,
natural,
I should add a caveat. It's mainly on the counter that he has a lot of trouble as that center back role. It's when we get caught out and turn the ball over and they counter us. That is where if we're set in our formation and he has help there, he is very good. But in that transition, that's really where he ends up getting struggled and beat.
well, then the unfortunate thing is the way Kivu wants to play with this high line, this very press the moment we lose the ball going forward, press immediately, press forward, this highly aggressive, offensive, vertical style of play that means that, we could be susceptible to getting caught out on the counter like this. And for
Yep.
Akanji to, for better or worse, he was the best option we had at the position last year. And unfortunately, on that Monza goal yesterday, we saw that was a little bit of the worst. Maybe
Yep.
where he wasn't at his most naturally comfortable, where he can be capable, maybe he's just not a natural there. And I feel like this is where some of our pickups, some of our future prospects here help us. But going into halftime, 1-1 at home. Obviously, you hope for a clean sheet, you hope for a solid lead. I know, looking at some of the other leagues, Arsenal came home from their opener with a 3-0 win, a clean sheet, something like that would have been nice. But
Hey, what up?
yeah, but knowing what we had to do, fortunately, we didn't have to wait very long coming out of the second half. DeMarco sent in a cross. The Monza keeper parried it back into open play, almost like Jan Sommer would have last year. Sorry, Travis. Um,
Yep.
and
Not
uh,
sorry. Not
one of
sorry.
our
It's true.
other one of our other midfielders, Piotr Zielinski, comes through with a one hopper, a skipper, sends it into the net to send us ahead at the 48-minute mark. So right away, very shortly after the beginning of the second half, we had a lot of reassurance right there. Dave, what were your thoughts after that goal?
I thought we got a little lucky. I mean, obviously, send the ball in, good things happen, but we also were at that point. We came out that first 3 minutes, we were attacking and we looked like a different side prior to that goal. That goal is not what energized us. We already had the fire. Whatever Kibu said at half, and this was an issue we had a lot last season, where we had a crap first half. We didn't really give our all, and then Kibu says whatever he says at half, and all of a sudden it's a completely different team on fire in the second half. We were a second half team last season. There were many games where we were behind, and we came back and won, which we talked about last season. We never did under Inzaghi. I just want us to go to a full 90 like that, just like a few times, and like a few times in a row. Because
Mhm.
if you want to be an elite team that competes in like Champions League, you cannot fall asleep in the first half like that against a team like Bayern or PSG. You just can't. You
Mhm.
could be down 4 goals by half, just like that final was against PSG. Not
Let's
that
not
we were
dwell on that
asleep, but
too
I
much.
I know. Sorry, I should. I knew as soon as I said it, I was like, no. Why did I say that? But it is what I don't know. It was nice to see that response, and it just continued from there. Um,
Absolutely. It was some very early reassurance, and fortunately, whatever adjustments that Kivu made at the half, whatever speech he gave in the locker room, it paid dividends. We saw only about 7 minutes later a gorgeous, absolutely ridiculous finish
oh my
from Pio
God,
Esposito.
my
Piotr
boy.
Pitar Sucic comes on as a substitute, changes the complexion of our midfield. What a game he
Yep.
had.
Yeah, he
Comes
was
on,
great.
puts in a an exemplary moment of hold-up play. Finds Andy
Yep.
Doof on the wing, who's able to make a move on his man, send a cross into the box, and send it to Pio Esposito, who was able to send a back heel goal, one skip off the ground, past the Monza keeper into the net to make it 3-1. Um,
A no look
Dave,
back heel goal,
a
by the way.
no look back heel, just bangers only.
Yeah,
The first goal, like we're used to Hakan scoring bangers to the point where like we almost look at the one he scored as the first game as an average goal for him, which is unfair because the quality of
it
that hit
is.
was exceptional. But for
Especially from the distance he was too. That was way outside the box.
absolutely, and I think they saw I think I saw a stat during the broadcast. He has something like it might have been 14 goals from out of the box in his time with us.
That sounds about
It's
right. I've seen at
one of
least that. Yeah.
he's this player that we don't really have a lot of natural dribblers who can beat the man. So when teams sit in a low block, what do? We find Hakan outside the box, and he's able to find this long range screamer, this sniper strike that unlocks the game. And as
Yep.
great as that was, the goal of that game for me was Pio's goal.
Oh, for
um,
sure. And it's not just the PO part. It's Dio, like you said, the hold up play from Sutures was fantastic. Then you get Dio goes down, literally stops on a dime, smokes his man, and puts in a perfect cross to Pio, who just on pure instinct just backheels into the net while he's holding off his guy who's trying to maul him, which is what Monza tried to do all game to him because they didn't have any other answer for him. The dude
mm.
went through what, 3 jerseys in that game?
Multiple
Like,
jerseys. We saw the numbers peeling off at the first half. The 9 was peeling off, leaving him with number 4.
yep,
Maybe a little bit of an omen to Mr. Javier Zanetti himself. And then in the second
right?
half, the 4 was peeling off, and he's got a 9. In any case, whatever number you want to evoke, whatever future he has for us, 21 years old to have that
Yeah,
kind of composure. I know I've sang his praises. I've compared him to Rob Gronkowski. I know I've glazed him ad nauseum on this channel, but we
right.
really do have a superstar in Pio Esposito. I'm really excited about what the future holds with him. I'd love to hear what you have to say about that.
Oh, completely. I've been calling him my boy for like a year and a half, and I've been extremely excited that he who kept him would not allow us to sell him because what he did, I mean, he had a fantastic season last year. He had a fantastic season the year before at Spezia. He just keeps getting better. He gets better on the ball, and I've seen so many fans like say that he's a donkey and he can't dribble, like just really rip him, and I'm just like. he's 21 for once. Like, give him time and then watch the hold up play. Like, when's the last time we had hold up play that good? And how many opportunities that affords us because we can hang on to the ball, find open space, find our passers, and create opportunities. And other than Zelensky's goal, I believe almost every one of those goals came from some sort of hold up play just like that,
Absolutely.
which
I know the first goal we saw Pio get mauled. He sent the ball over to Doof. Doof worked his magic and found Hakan, of course. And like we said, the third goal, Sucic makes makes some magic happen. Finds Doof. Doof works his own and finds Pio. It just a fantastic team goal. The finish we're harping on the finish, but really it was a fantastic team goal for me. That was
it
the
was.
goal of the game. And
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I
like
mean, going
not
back to the other thing you said, Sucic really did change this game when he came in for the positive for us. I feel like he really gave us the balance we were missing in the midfield. I'm not
absolutely.
100%, but I'm pretty sure Zelensky moved over to Hakan's role, which he played a lot last year very well, because Sucic was making a lot of marauding runs forward,
Mhm.
which you don't make in that role. So I know he was not in that role, and Barella really never plays that role. So I'm pretty confident of that. I honestly can't remember, but yeah,
Mhm.
I want to see Sucic get more time as a starter because he desperately deserves it. He makes an impact so often.
Absolutely. And I know um, for all the praise we've given Hakan for his goal earlier in the game, overall, by and large, he had a fairly quiet performance by his standards, I think. And
Yeah,
looking at, again, we've talked about you and I, the chat, as a fan base, we've talked about the depth of our midfield going into the season now. We haven't even seen it at its full potential. Curtis Jones, we don't even know what number he's going to wear yet.
nope, we
Um,
don't.
and looking at where we are, we had two midfielders score. One of them, despite scoring, had a quieter game. Pitar Sucic comes in, Zulu slides over. Sucic, after having a phenomenal World Cup, turning some heads at Croatia, maybe not quite the World Cup that Lautaro had, but having a
Eh,
pretty good showing in his own in and of his own right. He comes in, makes an impact performance, and helps change the complexion of the game and helps us turn it strongly in our favor. And we kept pouring it on. Not even the first goal of the second half was at the 48-minute mark. Pio's goal was at the 55-minute mark. Not even 10 minutes later, 63 minutes.
yep.
Jan Bisek decides he wants to come forward and take it himself, and he gets that done. He rips it.
My God,
Uh,
he ripped it,
it's
full ripped it with his weak foot, I believe.
I think you're right, and we talk about what makes an Inter Milan center back. Somebody like Bastoni who excels coming forward with a wicked left foot who can cross a ball into the forwards to whatever midfielder to generate an assist, and then to have somebody on the right like Jan Bisek who can come up, take his man on. He doesn't have Bastoni's gift of crossing, but he can take his man on, and he can. We've seen him play this almost nine role before,
Hmm.
and to see him
Yeah,
come on,
almost like
just
a
take
wing back sometimes.
almost like a wingback. And he comes in, he takes it on, and he's able to do it himself, and he makes it 4-1. Um, I know there's been some noise here or there about can he be, and Travis and I have talked about this, like, is he the guy? Like, if Bayern comes knocking, are we going to move him? Personally, I want him to be the right center back of the future. I know
Agreed.
we have Akanji, we have Pavard, but I think Jan Bisek is that guy for our system. Is he prone to the occasional
Yep.
boneheaded mistake like we've seen against Lazio in the closer 2 years ago? I think it was the closing game. Maybe it was the second to last game 2 years ago. The Bologna Supercopa semi.
Yep.
Is he prone to those mistakes? Yes. But for the system we play, I think Jan Bisek's that guy. What do you think?
I completely agree, and I think people also forget that like this dude was playing at our house in Denmark before we got him, like, and was an extremely raw prospect, which we all knew. Like we bought him for 7 million euros. Like we didn't spend a lot of money on this guy. He was an extremely raw prospect. So even if his ceiling doesn't get significantly higher from here, like we've already more than got our money's worth. I think he has all of that ability to be our future right center back. I know he's not super young. Believe he's already 25 at this point, but the only real weakness in his game at this point is in the air, which is crazy because he's absolutely enormous. But that tends to be where he gets beat if he's going to get beat. He's very, very good at taking on his man one on one, especially on defense and on offense. Like he's very good at all of that. There's not a whole lot of weaknesses in his game, and to have that ability to be able to swap him out with the Kanji, which is what I was hoping would be able to do eventually, it would be fantastic. I don't know if it's going to be Pavard. I think it's kind of telling that Pavard didn't get any minutes. I still think there's a high chance that we try to move him on before the end of the year, if I'm being honest.
I could see that as a possibility. I know, he's worked his way back onto the team. He's still trying to work his way back into the lineup. There's still some trust to be gained there. And I know that his natural position, that right center back position, we're very deep there now. We have three very capable guys who can play there if we're counting Pavard himself. And he's spent a season away. It takes some time to get reintegrated. We've had some changes to the back line, and I feel like that's a good way to transition into the second half. We had a few impact subs that I'd like to talk about.
For
Uh,
sure.
we talked a little bit about Peter Sucic here coming on for Hakan, who was on a yellow. Sucic was, I think we would both agree that he was a game changer. Lautaro had a bit of a quiet game. He was at the World Cup for quite some time. Still needs some
Yep.
time to spin up. We'll give him some grace. But Angion comes on after what was a fairly quiet World Cup campaign for him. But once he came into the game for Lautaro, who was also on a yellow, I personally felt that Boni had a very strong game. What do you think?
I think so too. Yeah, he came close to scoring. He was really lively on the ball. He looked very good. I think really what's been missing for him in some cases is that final product in the third. And I think he'll get there. I mean, people forget he's young. He's not very old. He needs more experience, but I thought he looked fantastic. He helped us move the ball very well. I agree with you about all that on the impact subs. And one thing I would go back to, just speaking about Sucic, when you mentioned earlier about his World Cup, it was a good enough World Cup that the Croatian media and Luka Modric basically called him the future of Croatia's midfield. And I'm not saying basically, they did. So he had quite a good World Cup. It may not have been like as impactful as Latero's, but for his team, it was because he was a regular starter in that.
He turned heads at that World Cup, I would agree. And he turned
Yep.
heads last season, and he was an impact player this weekend. So it was really, as strong as our midfield is, I was really glad to see such a young player be able to step up to the plate and deliver and show that he fits in, he belongs, and that he's not willing to just throw his spot away. He wants to compete for this. So
Yep.
to see that hunger, that grinta, that's something that I was really happy to see. Talking about Grinta or other players that came in and made an impact. We brought in John Stones in a cameo appearance for Manuel Akanji, stepping in at the center back position. Personally, I don't know about you, but once he came on, I felt a strong sense of reassurance. I know he didn't have to do a whole lot,
Mhm.
but I did feel secure watching him on the field. As far as other subs we made, usually we're used to seeing Carlos Augusto come on for Federico Di Marco or Alessandro Bastoni, but considering both of them, all of our Italy players had the summer off, I guess they were
Finally.
fresh enough to play a full 90 minutes, and Luis Enrique ended up coming in on the right side to relieve Andy Diouf. Carlos Augusto stayed on the bench, as did Marcus Thuram. I know I'd love to hear your thoughts about this. I know in prior years we've touted our depth and then
Mhm.
here and there we get tested and we realize that maybe we're not as deep as we've thought. This is something that's happened a couple of times over the past couple of years. To
Yep.
me, the fact that we were able to get a resounding, convincing 4-1 win without Carlos Augusto and Marcus Thuram even stepping on the field, to me that is a huge I don't know if the word is vote of confidence, but to me that says something about the strength of the team we have here.
Oh, I would agree, and I'll add to that, and also with Laturo really not having any impact and not really being ready to play. To be honest, he just played because he's our captain and it was his birthday. But like it was clear he wasn't ready yet, and we still did fantastic. Like even last season, there was that stretch where he was out hurt, and it almost cost us quite a bit of our competitions. Because when he came back, like he really revitalized that team against Roma and got us back on the right track. So I don't think we've had depth like this in a really long time, where we have really two starters at almost every position now. We've only added more depth. Like even last season, if you look at right wing back, a position everybody said was maybe going to be weak this year, we didn't really have a great backup. Like Luis Henrique was okay, but he's clearly better on the left. I don't think Carlos Augusto is a good wing back at all. He's a great left center back backup, but I do not rate him highly as a wing back personally. He's never really contributed much like going forward. If you actually look at his stats, he doesn't do much at wing back, but he is a defensive demon at left center back. He saved us so many times from that position. So I'm happy that we have so much depth now, especially adding it in the midfield and I would say center back. I do think we might do a little more work. I'm hopeful that if we are going to sell Pavard, it's going to be to bring in another center back because I still think that's the only area that I am concerned with. Even goalkeeper, like last year we had Summer and Joseph, but Joseph never played. Summer was one of the worst goalkeepers in Serie A statistically last year. Not only that, now we have Joseph, who played really well, helped us win the Copa, and then we added Providel, who was not that long ago the Serie A keeper of the season, and in preseason looked phenomenal. So again, we have more depth, and we've upgraded at that position as well. I totally agree. I think we've added a lot of depth, and it's not just bodies; it's quality depth as well as young guys with really high ceilings. Keeping Bovio around, I think, is going to pay dividends. I think he should stay around. He looked fantastic to me in the preseason. As I said earlier, I thought he was far better at reading the game in that position than Akanji was. I understand it was preseason, but he also played 90 minutes against Juve, and he was one of the players of the match at 18 and center back. So, like, there's a reason he's still here, and I hope he gets some minutes. So if we do make a move, I think that's where it's going to be. I don't see Henrique leaving personally. I think that's just too risky, and he does look better on the left. He's not amazing, but he looks better on the left than the right.
I can agree with all of that. If we make another move, I would like it to be that center back. I know there was a whole lot of noise about Romero, and part of that was it being contingent on our ability to move our pre-existing players, and unfortunately, that wasn't totally possible. Whether Brevard can be a contributor again going forward, we'll see. But as far as the defensive group, I think by and large, we can be happy with this. And as far as the attacking group, like we talked about before, for how many years now were we talking every summer about, we need to reinforce the attack. We have Lautaro.
Yep.
A couple years ago, Marcus Thuram was brought in as we were looking at him as like a third option maybe, and he slides up into that second role. And then after a couple years of Marco Arnautovic, Joaquin Correa, Mehdi Taremi, guys who just
Oh
didn't
God.
really truly pan out here, we finally have four guys who are able to contribute across multiple competitions. So the
Hmm.
attack's great, the defense is great. We talked about the midfield, and to go back to the midfield for a sec, talking about our depth, there are two more things I'd like to talk about before we shift on
Oh
to
yeah, I know
some other
one of them.
subjects. You do. The
I do.
first one I want to talk about here is we did get a brief cameo appearance from one Alexander Stankovic. Dave, I know this is your
Stanko.
guy here. I know you were talking about the how much this meant for you in the chat. I'm gonna let you just take free reign here. Blank check.
Yeah.
Alex Stankovic,
I
go.
All right. Yeah, this one was big for me. I've been in our group chat, I've been hyping this kid up like all summer. I was one of the first ones to say like how we need to bring him back and we should not sell him. I watched a lot of him play for last year in Bruges and especially what he did in the Champions League, and he was fantastic. He was one of their best players by far, one of the best midfielders in that league. He really has crazy attitude, and I was so happy to see him come back. I was questioning, was he going to have the stones to take his dad's number, and he did. I still remember when we won the treble, like him celebrating on the field with his dad after the game when he was like 4 or 5, and how this is his dream. Like this is literally his dream is to come play at for us and hear that crowd and like the reception that he got. Like I'll be honest, I shed some tears because that was so meaningful for that kid to live out his dream, as well as like just what that means for the history of Inter to have another Stankovic in his dad's kit, like playing for us, and to hear the San Siro go just wild for him. It was awesome. I'm so excited to see what he could do for us. I think he's going to be really, really good depth, and I know from some sources that I trust that have been like right 95% of the time that he's guaranteed to stay at least until January and see what he can show us, which I think is a great decision because I think he's going to show us a lot, and I think he's going to be the replacement for Hakan when Hakan moves on.
I agree. I like you can tell how much hunger that this kid has, and we've heard
Yep.
his peers have been talking in the preseason about how he's like turning heads, how he's already making an impression, about how he did his stint at Bruges and he came back and he wants to be the guy here. He wants to be a contributor here.
He
And
does.
what they say, iron sharpens iron, and as much midfield depth as we have, we look around, we have a pretty, push comes to shove. We'll see what happens when we get into Champions League here. But, looking at our starting midfield, what we looked at our starting midfield coming into this season, Hakan Çalhanoğlu, Nicolo Barella, Piotr Zielinski, that's a pretty solid midfield. And adding to that, of course, we have Curtis Jones, Alexander
Yep.
Stankovic, Henrik
Sucic.
Mkhitaryan, for we'll get to Sucic. Mkhitaryan, he, you know,
Yeah.
should be starting? No, but he has the know-how to close out these games in the last 15, 20 minutes. He knows what to do. We saw he played a great role in those Barca closers. Peter Sucic, as we talked about, um, Asllani's probably getting shipped out of town, so the less said about him, the better for now.
Yeah, we don't have to include
Yeah,
him. And we
yeah,
got rid of Fertezi, so we got rid of two completely dead weight players. We
yeah,
adding Stankovic and Jones are is huge.
definitely.
They both had things that we did not have in that midfield, in my opinion, especially Jones. But we did not really have someone with the attitude that he has, like to have the stones to say, no, I'm not going to go be a regular starter in the Premier League. I'm going to stay here and I'm going to earn my spot. And not only that, I'm going to wear my dad's kit. Like
Yep,
that is some attitude for a 20-year-old. Like I
yep.
like it, and
Call.
I saw it on the field for Bruges last year, even against Bayern and other teams. Like he looked fantastic, and he runs around the field like his dad, like a freaking demon. Excuse my language, but like he will give his all when he is on the field, and we need guys like that.
Agreed. And as much competition as he will have for minutes in this midfield, I think that I think there's a lot to be excited about. Granted, it was a 10-minute cameo appearance. He didn't have a whole lot to do, so we'll
Right.
see if he can rise to that occasion in some future games. But for now, I think the future's very bright.
Well,
Um,
one thing I want to add to that is the other reason I'm really excited is I want the players that want to be here and it's their dream and they want to wear this kit, they know what it means to wear this kit, they tend to do the best for us. Like that was Barella. People don't remember that, but he told Cagliari, "I'm either going to enter or I'm staying here." Like there are a lot of guys that wanted to enter only that have been here for like 7 to 9 years and are a big part of our core. we need to keep adding guys like that, that this is their dream. And look at Pio. He's living his dream. Now he gave everything in that weight room and it is already showing up on the field. So yeah, exactly. Like he bulked up massively. He was already a
He
beast and
was
now
already
he's like
a strong
he's now
dude,
he's
but
a
yeah,
machine.
he's gonna be the Terminator. Um, but yeah, I'd say we have between the attack, the midfield, the defense, it all looks really good. One thing that we should probably talk about, though, and I know before we hopped on the show here, you and I were talking a little bit about this. We have a little bit of a goalkeeper controversy again. I know last year that we were talking about how Jan Sommer, it seems to be it's time for him to go. Why aren't we giving Josep Martinez more minutes? Josep Martinez does get the start yesterday over Ivan Provedel, who we have talked about is a really as far as what we would call a backup option at goalkeeper, truly a luxury. I
Yeah.
think that we're lucky to have that kind of depth there as well. But looking at who's going to get more minutes going forward, the question is still, can Joseph be the guy? I would love to hear your thoughts on Joseph's performance yesterday, because I know there are some mixed feelings in the fan base, and I know you and I might be kind of on opposite sides here, but I'd like to hear you articulate your position.
I don't know if that we really are on opposite sides here. Like I thought he did great. Like there were a couple moments, and some people say they don't think he's very good with the ball at his feet. I don't think his defenders did him any favors. Yes, against Monza, I think there were several occasions where they passed him the ball while he was about to get pressed and put him in a terrible position. Um, I thought his ball distribution was fine. There were a couple sketchy moments. Yes, there was that one by the goal where he got the ball and almost he kind of slipped up and almost turned it over. But again, he got out of it. I've heard some people harping on like why is he so far out of the net? And we talked about this beforehand. Like the only one that I was like, I don't know, was he was almost to midfield, but at the same time he stopped a counterattack, which you made a good point about. That's I would much rather take that than Summer, who stays all the way back in his box and waits for a guy to come to him on a breakaway. The chances of scoring on that are far higher than if you come out of your net proactively and get to the ball first, which he generally does. He's been doing this since last season, and he has not gotten burned on it yet. Once he gets burned and it becomes an issue, then I think we can start maybe having that conversation, but it hasn't happened yet.
Right. Yeah, personally, I've always thought he was a very capable shot stopper. I thought he showed that again yesterday. I know he maybe expected a little more of a kanji, but for that goal that Monza scored, I thought he reacted as well as he could have. I think we both agree
Yeah,
that Jan Sommer wouldn't have, last year's Jan Sommer, we should say, wouldn't have been
yeah,
quite
that's a good
so
point.
responsive to it. But personally, for me, I loved having somebody come up as a sweeper keeper to be willing to take some risks, clear
Yeah,
some dangerous moments before they happen, because we would see time and time again last year that Jan Sommer would sit back in the net and either just clip the ball too little too late or would just watch it go past him. And there were moments
yep,
where he came out, but I do appreciate that Josep Martinez is a little more willing to take some initiative, to be proactive rather than reactive. And while there is a natural talent to the reactive thing that I can appreciate, I think he showed a lot yesterday, and I would like to see what else he has to show as far as how we want to divide the minutes going forward. Maybe Joseph is the Serie A Copa guy. Maybe Provedel does Champions League. We can
I
experiment
think
with it.
it'll be
Or
more of a rotation than there's like a guaranteed starter, which is
I
not a
agree.
bad thing. Like uh,
Hmm.
that's my guess. I don't think it's going to be like you're just the Copa guy, you're just the Serie A guy. I think it's going to be based on opponent and getting them both minutes. And frankly, it's a good problem to have two keepers that are good enough to be your starter. Like I don't want to be in a situation like last year where like by by the end of September, I think in our group chat, I was saying that Summer needs to be benched for Joseph,
Mhm.
and it took till the end of the season for it to happen. So I
Yeah.
don't want to go through that again. I would much rather, I think he'll rotate them. I think that's the smart thing to do. Like you have two capable keepers. Why force one of them to play a ton of minutes when you can rotate them? So it'll be interesting to see who gets like the Napoli start in a couple weeks, but I think that will be more telling of who he's trusting more. But I think he has full trust in both of them from what I've seen.
Well said. I don't know. Again, only one game in. There's really, we got to take everything with a boulder of salt here. But I do agree that game three, Napoli is going to be one of the is going to be telling for not just the goalkeeper position, but for the whole team. At that point, you would assume we would have all of our signings integrated. That's Spence, Jones, Stones, all these
Yep.
guys, our English trio, the guys who have already came in, Provedel, Stankovic. So I am curious to see how we approach that game, but we're getting a little bit of ahead of ourselves. One game in, for now, tied for top of the table. Most of our chief competition were able to win their games as of recording, so we'll see what happens by the time we get into some of these heavier games. Next week, of course, we are at Cagliari playing the Sardinians, 2:45 Eastern Time on Sunday. Dave, what are your expectations for that game?
I would expect something a little similar to Monza, but maybe not the horrible first half performance other than the Hakan Rocket, hopefully. I don't know if Spence or Jones are going to be ready for more than a cameo by that point in reality. I'm not sure when we'll start seeing Stone start. I think it would be smart of Kivu to kind of save him and bring him in like he's been doing, but at the same time, like if Akanji's going to keep struggling in that and we don't make a move, um, it should be interesting there. Otherwise, I expect like we'll start to see a little bit of rotation, especially in the midfield. I think that's where we're going to rotate the most, probably, is in the mid and the defense. I don't think you're going to see a ton of rotation on the wings. Like DeMarco is going to start almost every match unless he needs a break. It'll be interesting to see what he chooses to do with right wing back. I think it probably is going to depend on the opponent and the game plan. Like if you want to be a little more defensive, then you're going to choose Spence. If you want to take it to him, then Diouf's the guy. But I thought he also showed quite a bit on defense. So I, I think it's going to be an interesting match, and it's like we have a plethora of awesome options now. So he's really going to get to be able to tinker with the lineup and how he wants to set things up. And we have different profiles as well, like guys that have different strengths finally. Like I'm excited to have a guy like Jones when we get to that match with Napoli, especially now that Allegri's their coach and they like to sit back. Like I think he's going to be a low block destroyer, just like Diouf. And I'm really excited to finally have guys that can do that and that are going to be trusted to do that. So it's going to be an exciting season, I think. I don't
There's
want
a
to get
lot
too far ahead of myself, but I mean, we really only built on last year. Getting rid of Denzel Dumfries, I don't think was as big a loss as I think people think it is.
And it was quite hefty in the moment. I know that we were despairing about that, and we went through so many potential replacements between Palestra, between Khalili, so many guys
Yep.
who seemed like they could be the answer, the replacement that just didn't work out. And I feel like we lucked out pretty well in that Andy Doof seems to be shaping up as that guy, and we were able to get a World Cup breakout star, Jed Spence, somebody who
Yep.
that's somebody that I would have thought, and I was talking about this with some of the DC Interclub guys. We several of us felt that when he had a breakout tournament, we felt okay, this is somebody Liverpool's going to come for this guy, or Barcelona's going to come for this guy. Like we didn't think that Inter would be that team to step up and get a
Mm.
when was the last time we were able to step up and get a World Cup standout performer? Was it Diego Forlan? Maybe like it's
João
been
Mario,
Joao
but that didn't work
Mario.
out so well.
Yeah,
But that didn't
exactly.
work out
So
great. But that was a long time ago. But that was a different type of player. Spence we've seen in Serie A before when he was at Genoa. He's just never gotten a chance to get regular minutes at Tottenham because he's stuck behind Pedro Porro. It's not because he's lacking talent. Pedro Porro was just like as we saw with Spain, he was phenomenal. So I- he's a different profile player, but when you think about like that England team and who they have at that position with like Reece James and Trent Alexander-Arnold, and you didn't see those guys on the field. Like he sat those guys down. Like that's impressive. And
Mhm.
the level of tackles that he made coming back and tracking back and just blocking shots, like his defensive ability there is something that we haven't had at a wingback position. I, I can't even remember when. Like, yeah, Denzel would make some defensive plays, but nothing like that. He was not coming back and making hero tackles like that regularly. That's just not his game.
Yep.
So I agree. Like, I did not think we were going to sign him, especially with what Tottenham wanted for him when we first approached. The fact that we got him for like 15 million euros less than they originally quoted us is pretty impressive.
Great piece
I
of
think I'm gonna,
business.
yeah, that was a great piece of business. Like, I'm not even gonna go into the guys that we missed out on. I think Khalili would have been great. I was really highly rated on him, but I also think he would have just killed any chance of Diouf really having a shot at this. So I think it's going to work out well for us because what we're seeing from him is fantastic. Like I know it's one game, but the most assists Dumfries ever had for us in an entire season was six, and he's already at two. I don't believe Denzel ever had a double assist game for us in his entire career with us.
It's definitely something to watch going forward. I know the future's bright, but one game in, let's temper expectations too. I know
Yeah,
Dumfries spent a great deal of last season injured, so we'll see what Doof can
he
do.
did.
But as I said earlier, iron sharpens iron. I feel like we have a lot of competition across this team, a lot of people who are eager to step up to get those minutes to make the difference, to be the guy. So I think this
Yeah,
team has a real. We were talking about this in the ceiling, and I'm not going to speculate too much too early, but I think this
yeah,
team does have a really high ceiling. You know, the Champions League draw is on Thursday, the 27th, so we'll see. We'll get a sense of kind of what our fate in Europe might look like at that point. So until we see that, I don't want to say too much, but as far as the league goes, as far
right.
as Coppa Italia goes, I think we stand a strong chance of potentially defending both of these titles here. So,
I
and
would
while
say
we're on
so
the
for sure.
subject,
And then
just have to talk about
I,
how gorgeous these kits are, by the way.
I know they are legitimately probably the best ones I've ever seen.
At the very least, some of the
They're
best we've had in
fantastic.
over 10 years, bare minimum. They're
Oh, at least they're
beautiful,
fantastic, and
beautiful on the
I would agree
field
with all that. Like
to wear in person, all of it.
I do think we're going to be a lot harder to take out in Champions League now. A lot of what we have struggled with in the past is scoring and breaking teams down, and we have a lot of players that are capable of doing that between Diouf, Jones, and others now that we did not have before, and we also have a reference point up top for hold up play that we haven't had. We haven't had someone with the combined strength and ability on the ball of PO in a long time either.
Agreed. I think there's a lot to be excited
So
about here. And
there is, and we could ramble forever. So I know you're trying to get me to shut it a
no,
bit,
not at
but
all. I've had a great conversation with you, Dave. You know we always hit it off well. Um,
we do, yeah.
yeah, it's been too long, and looking forward to the next one.
Same
Like
man,
like we said,
same.
we've got the Cagliari game next week. We'll see what combination permutation of hosts we want to have next week between Travis, Vince, Dave, Derek, the new addition here to the Pazza podcast world. We'll see who we're gonna keep you, our guests, on your toes a little bit while you figure out who's gonna be here. Would love to
One
see
day
all.
we'll get us all there for a group, and that would be. I'm excited for that. We gotta get that at some point.
I'm looking
Travis and I
forward
have
to it.
never managed to be on at the same time before, and I want that to happen at some point too.
Definitely would love to have a group debate on. But until then, we look forward to the next game, an away match. Hopefully, we'll get it done against the Sardinians. And until then, Dave, is there anything else you wanted to add before I let you go?
No, just thanks for having me on and Forza Inter.
Sempre. Great to have you on as always, man. Everyone watching at home, thanks for tuning in. Hit the like, subscribe, comment, all the things. Great to have you guys. Ti amo. And as always,
Sorry.
as Dave said, Forza Inter. Ciao.